Welcome to the track built for the 2006 Winter Olympic Games in Torino, Italy for two-man bobsled competition here on Speed. It's the 5th World Cup of this season. Hi everybody, I'm John Morgan, joined by Ron Ringeth.
And here's one of the favorites. It's Martin Annen of Switzerland and Alexander Zubkov, the Russian, leading the Foreman World Cup. And this is our new track.
19 quarters, longer track, 1,435 meters, similar to the length at Altenburg and Lake Placid. Considerably longer, a couple hundred meters longer than the track in Salt Lake City. And here's our first view of the track for men's bobsledding.
Start, very important on this track. And especially the upper part, the first corners. You can lose so much speed here when you make tiny little mistakes. Turn one, speed trap here. Very
important speed trap. You can have the best start time, but if you don't load in that sled well, you will erase your time. You won't have the best speed trap time at after the first curve. Now 4, 5, and 6 coming up here after this other speed trap, Ron, and we've seen in skeleton and women's bob. This is a pivotal part of this track. Curve 6, 7, and 8 right here. It's called Toro, the bull corner. They gave it that because it really just spikes you. I mean,
you can get very high on turn 6. We will see some action there, definitely.
A lot of speed, a lot of pressure, 3.5 G's of force in the chicane. Another speed trap. Curve 14.
That's the only straight part.
Chaberton curve.
Sort of straight.
There's a big mountain right behind the curve called Chaberton. Now we're into the third speed trap. This is where it's 130 plus kilometers an hour they expect by the Olympics. This is track just open a couple weeks ago. The Monte corner into the finish. Monte, the famous Italian, the double gold medalist from the 68 games who passed away last year. They named the finish corner after him.
Here we see the Bob start on the left side, loose start on the right side. And we spoke to the athletes about the track.
Yeah, I think the track is a mix of Lake Placid and La Plagne in France, and I like the track very much, very interesting. You have to drive very good, especially the first 6 corners. If you're not at the top after curve 6, you don't get it.
I love it. I mean, I really do. Wish I was a little faster on it. It's a real technical track, real finesse track, but a real different rhythm. But I think eventually our sleds are going to run here, and good news, this isn't the Olympic year.
There's really nothing that really compares, I don't think anyway, and little aspects here and there, but nothing where you could say it's like, you know, Altenburg or Cortina or anything. It's completely different, has its own characteristic, and I like it.
All exits are saved. We have no crashes, only one. I think that was the idea, to give the pilot possibilities to look for a new line. But I think it's not like other, maybe similar to Nagano.
Well, the athletes love the track. The American team speaks very highly of it in their Bodine sleds. And when we come up after the break, we're going to talk to the Jeff Bodine NASCAR legend about his Bodine's bobsled moment. It's about different tracks on the planet, like in bobsledding, like in NASCAR. Welcome back to Torino, Italy. Today's program on Speed brought to you by Omega, official timekeeper of the World Cup Bobsleigh Tour, and by Konica Minolta, home of the Biz Hub.
Our favorites today, Martin Annen, of course. Already one race, won the Foreman race in Cortina d'Ampezzo, last race before Christmas.
He's the World Cup leader, but hot in his heels. After Annen, it's Pierre Luders of Canada. Luders has got 2 victories. He just has one bad result in Winterberg, or he'd be running away with the World Cup season title. Luders, pretty confident individual. He's had good training times.
Andre Lange must be a favorite on this track, but he's not going to start. He is ill. He's got the flu. No 2-men, no 4-men on the Olympic track.
Alexander Zubkov, medal in the 2-man in Winterberg. Hasn't medaled since. He's been close. Very dominating in the 4-man. He's the World Cup leader in 4-man.
And René Spies is back. He won the German championships with a Christoph Langen sled. Spies had problems with his own ISE sled, and so he borrowed the sled from Christoph.
He's been fast at training all week. Todd Hayes of the United States in the Bodine sled. He's 7th ranked in World Cup standings. Not the same results in 2-man as he gets in 4-man. He's won twice in the 4-man circuit. He's 2nd in World Cup standings in the 4-man. Here's our 2-man standings.
Martin Annen, ahead of Pierre Luders. Andre Lange, still 3rd. Zubkov, Todd Hayes, 7th. Patrice Sebel, 4th at the World Championships, 10th already.
It's a long season. 2 more World Cups after this one in St. Moritz and Lake Placid. 42 sleds from 21 nations. A typical pre-Olympic field.
Yeah, everyone is here, everyone.
Even the Jamaicans are with us today.
Cool runnings.
Here's our results after the first run. The World Cup leader, Martin Annen, track record at the start, track record, of course, in the finish. Hayes, though, tied for 5th place. Hayes and Steve Messer, they have a chance to get a medal today. Stevie Holcomb, Brock Kreitzenberg, they're in 10th. Good showing for them so far.
But our leaders, Martin Annen, René Spies, the German, and Pierre Luders on 3rd position.
Here's our first competitor. Stevie Holcomb, Brock Kreitzenberg. Currently in 10th place. Holcomb had a 4th place result in the 4-man competition. We talked to him about he likes this new track.
I think the Bodines run real well here. I like this track so far. It's real great. It's a lot of fun. It's a finesse track, and I think the Bodines run real well. You know, I'm driving well also. Had a good run, and I'm excited, so it's be fun.
Jeff Bodine designs the USA sleds for the U.S. team. NASCAR drivers have favorite tracks. Bobsledders have favorite tracks. We talk about it.
Hi, this is Jeffrey Bodine. You know, race drivers have their favorite tracks. One of mine was Martinsville. I won 4 of my 18 races there. Bobsledders the same way. They have their favorite tracks. Bristol in racing is like Cortina in bobsledding. It's rough and tough. Talladega, fast super speedway, is like St. Moritz in bobsledding. It's fast. No handling involved, just speed. But let's look at all the tracks because they're all different.
Every track, like in NASCAR, has its own personality. The super speedway of St. Moritz, the tight, quick corners of an Innsbruck. The runners, the sleds are all set up very different. The refrigerated tracks have smoother ice. The natural track of St. Moritz is a bumpier ice. It's a challenge for everybody.
Also, just like in NASCAR, they have their different tracks like Bristol, Talladega, Martinsville, where we have different tracks also. We have Koenigsee, we have Cortina, we have St. Moritz, which is a long track, basically like Talladega. So all our setups are different. For Talladega, I guess you're talking high speeds. For us at St. Moritz, it's high speed. So we want aerodynamics. Everybody has to be tucked in the sled. We have to have the right runners, the right setup as far as spring setups. A little softer St. Moritz. We go to Cortina, well, maybe a little stiffer because of the violent turns. It's more driving involved. But there are a lot of similarities, and people just don't realize it, I guess, until you get into it.
Todd Hayes of the United States, he's got his favorite track.
I'd say Calgary, where the Worlds are going to be this year. It's my favorite track, you know, other than Salt Lake City, my home track. I think that's obvious. Bodine sled seems to go there. We've won a couple races there, so I'm looking forward to getting back there.
The Bodine project flies on. Jeff Bodine of the United States building made in the USA sleds. Now back to Stevie Holcomb, Brock Kreitzenberg.
They had a decent start in the first heat, 487, 10th best start.
Yeah, they're in 10th position too.
Interesting was the first intermediate time. They were already 7th there, but then they were falling back a bit to 10th position.
Well, that's a good sign that curve 6, 7, and 8 got them. So you saw www.bobsled.com. We have live results. We also have some video clips of the races up there the same day, so you should check it out. And this is the pivotal part of the track coming up. El Toro. He's got a 300ths lead on the team at the bottom. 88.6. That's about 52 miles an hour. 6/10 of that is the way you compute the speed. Listen to this quietness of the Bodine sled. Now the track is -3 to +2. That's not a good sign. 105 kilometers, 62 miles an hour, 126. That's a good speed. He's only 200s down. He's coming back a little bit. This is where these Bodine sleds are good at the fast part of the track. And he loses, though, by 6. So Steve Holcomb is going to drop 5th best time of the heat so far. He's going to drop at least 1 spot. He can finish no better than 11th, but for Stevie Holcomb of Park City, Utah, 11th place in the 2-man's pretty good for him. He's better in the 4-man competition. Now another United States team.
Today's Steve Messler. Steve's family is here. He brought his family here. Famous for their barbecue parties in Lake Placid. Now they said they're going to do a barbecue party here, or maybe next week in St. Moritz.
Bodine sled.
Currently 5th after first heat. Tied with Fabrizio Tozzini, the Italian local hero.
The Bodine sled, you know, he won a couple races with this sled a couple years ago, and the 2-man has not had the same results in 2-man as he's had 4-man. The leaders, we didn't see them come down. That's Switzerland. 1900ths lead. That's a great sign. The speeds, left side, 88.6. Whoa, he's high there. -17. Lost a little time back. Doesn't have that 89 magic speed we talk about.
Fastest sled so far, Jason Krause from Canada. And some more mistakes, but still 1800ths of a second.
He's improved from -17 to -18. Not the 126.5 we saw of his teammate. But this still looks like he could maintain his placing. And he does. Lost a little bit time back on the bottom. But a couple mistakes up there in chicane. Banged hard. We saw him high in that, I think it was curve 9. But he patted the cowling. Seems like he's happy with the run. Well, there's how high he was. That's not the fast line, but this is a new track. He taps here also on the right. More bobsledding on speed after this. Welcome back to Torino, Italy. We had some first heat mishaps.
Lee Johnston, he's done gymnastics when he was a kid, so maybe that helped him.
Yeah, and here comes the Monegasque number 2 sled. Both athletes, though, they finished the race. 37th, didn't qualify for the second run. Both of them got up and walked away. That was our only crash. Next competitor, top of the track, Russia, number 1.
Our Russian friends, Alexander Zubkov and Dmitry Stepushkin. 4th, but already 42 hundredths of a second behind the leader, Martin Annen. That's a lot. But anything can happen on this track because it's so new.
They had a week of training. 2 weeks ago, there was no ice on this track. And they had International Training Week. Once they got ice on it, there was a couple sections with no ice. There's our leaders. The United States one at the bottom, Hayes and Messler. These guys only have maybe 8 or 10 trips on this track in a two-man bob, if less. So there's a lot of future plans for everybody, especially in 2006, February next year at the Olympic Games.
4:79, that's only 100 slower than the start record by Martin Annen and Beat Hefty. So they improved by 200 at the start.
And he's got a 1700s lead now on the American who's at the bottom. And this looks like he's improving. Look at the speed, 89.4. When you have speed like that up there before the entrance to the Toro Bull Corner, that's a good sign. But as soon as I said that, he lost some time back. 106.6. 126.5 kilometers is the magic speed. He's got well beyond that. Now he's increasing his lead.
He's got a Singer sled, and the Singer brothers from Bavaria, they also have experience in car racing. So, and he's got it. Best time in this heat, 56.93 and 153.90. Best of all time.
Well, he beat Todd Hayes and Messler by 6 or 7 hundredths at the start. That was 20 hundredths right there at the bottom. Next up, from Canada, Pierre Lueders, Lascelles Brown.
Had a great start in the first heat, a 4:79. And now a 4:77. That's a new start record. Oh!
Wow. Pierre Lueders has always been a great starter in the sport. He's been a great two-man pilot. He's the world champion from last year. He's won 2 gold medals of 4 races. And he's got the sled flying here on the Olympic track. 3100ths lead run, but doesn't have the same speed as Zubkov. That could be reflective to that 6, 7, 8 combination corner up top, but he's playing with it there, but he's flying away now. He's up to 4200ths. 106 kilometers.
And only 2 more sleds to come. That means if he's leading down there, he guarantees him a medal.
He's flying. It's up to half a second. Pierre Lueders, Lascelles Brown, he ducks his head underneath the cowling at the finish line for aerodynamics. 52 hundredths of a second. Pierre Lueders flew down the bottom part of this track.
And it was very close after the first heat between Lueders, Spies and Annen. So Lueders was only 3 hundredths of a second behind René Spies, who was second, and only 14 hundredths behind Martin Annen and Beat Hefty. So maybe he can win it, maybe silver. We don't know it.
After the break, a couple more. René Spies on the left, Martin Annen on the right. Welcome back to Torino. Cool runnings on site this weekend. The Jamaican bobsled team returned to the World Cup circuit for the first time since the World Championships in 2003. Winston Watt and Blackwood as brakemen. Didn't have a great run, finished 38, but they're trying to qualify for next year's Olympics.
Randy Spies, Franzakmeister, with their new sled, with the Christoph Langen sled. Randy Spies had problems with his ISE sled, so it was always very slow in the fast parts. So he asked Christoph Langen. Christoph is not competing because he had his heart attack. It's not back yet. Oh, and they have to start again.
They got to reboot this thing. Now, we don't see that too often. A little concentration problem, but you see they go right through the back to what they do.
But it's not very positive. 4:84. That was the fourth best start time in the first heat. What is it now?
They just show it.
What a 4:85 I see on my data screen.
Well, Franz Sagemeister is 30 years old from Ulstad. He's 6'3". He's 242 pounds, and we always call him the Beast because he is a very imposing figure. And of course, it's a maximum gravity sport with maximum weight. Bigger you are, the smaller the sled to push.
Franzakmeister is in the German border police, and René Spies is supported by the army, so both are paid by the government. Professionals.
A lot of military athletes in the German winter sports program.
Look at the gap, 2/10 behind Pierre Luders.
No speed compared to Luders, and Luders flew down the bottom part of this track. 1900, still 2/10. I don't think he can catch him. Question is he going to maintain at least for a bronze? Has a chance he does.
Back on the podium, René Spies, but at least third. At least third, then there's just one sled to come. Martin Annen and Beat Hefti. So Pierre Luders guaranteed the silver medal. René Spies said he had problems to adapt the new sled from Christoph Langen because it's much more sensible to steer this one compared to his old sled.
Well, considering what Rennie's accomplished so far this year, I'm sure he'll love the bronze medal, but that sled looked like a little bit of a slide. Look at the speed. They're exact same speed on the bottom, so Spies got it going on the bottom part of the track.
And now Martin Annen, Beat Hefti. Luders Lascelles Brown got the new track record just 3 minutes ago at the start. And now they're going for maybe a new one.
If you looked at these two guys with their shirts off and you looked at Luders and Lascelles Brown, you wouldn't think these guys could compete. But these guys have been doing it in the first 50 meters. He has been really coming on. He won the race in Innsbruck. He won the four-man race in Cortina.
4:77, equal the same time like Luders Lascelles Brown.
But he's got the lead at the end of the first heat. There's the best speed. You just saw fast, the best speeds we've seen so far up there before the Toro corner. 1400s at the last clock. If that thing goes up to 16, 1800s, oh, he dropped 100. Zubkov with the best speed. That's pretty much what Luders had better speed than that. Down to 800s. He's lost more time. He's bleeding more time, Ron, we like to say.
Definitely getting very close down there. Oh, 700s.
He hasn't been bleeding much.
Should be enough. It should be enough to beat Pierre Luders Lascelles Brown. Yes, 600ths of a second, but not the fastest run. Not the fastest run. Luders was quicker in the second leg.
So Martin Annen has won his second gold medal in two-man bobsled of the season. His second consecutive World Cup race. He won the last World Cup four-man race in Cortina, which was the last race before the break. And Martin Annen, mysterious way the guy was in and out of being on top of the leaderboard.
What about the chicks and the Olympics?
There's a jinx here. If you win the pre-Olympic race, the last 3 or 4 Olympics, pre-Olympic competitions, you don't win the gold medal.
Well, I think he doesn't care about this. He won the race on this track, which will hold the Olympic Games next year. Here, Annen Hefti, 600, Spies, bronze medal, back on the podium with the Langen sled. Zubkov, no medal. Today's 5th position. USA 2, Stevie Alcon, 10th place. So, 2 American sled in top 10.
But today, it was Martin Annen, and he's distanced himself from Pierre Luders, the top of the World Cup leaderboard.
20 points.
You know, if the Swiss win the World Cup title, that means they have 3 sleds in the World Championships. Everybody else has 2. That's the real meaning of the World Cup title in this sport.
And of course, we want to talk to the guys. While you see the World Cup standings. So, John Morgan with the interviews.
Rennie Spies, bronze medal on the Olympic track. How do you like your new sled?
Ja, ist sicherlich eine Verbesserung für uns. Und ich hoffe, dass es noch weiter vorangeht mit der ISE zusammen mit dem George Klaus und mit dem Christoph Lang. Denke ich, haben wir ein sehr gutes Team. Und ich denke, jetzt werden die Medaillenträume fürs nächste Jahr realistisch.
It's good for us that Christoph Langen helps us in the team. I think that is a big step to the front.
Congratulations now to Canada, Pierre Luders. Pierre, this track, do you like the track and do you compare it to anything else you've been on?
I really like the track, and I can't compare it to anything else that I've been on. It's very technical. You can lose a lot of time, but you can also make up some time. So, you know, we've been a little inconsistent here, but the last couple of days, but we're pretty happy with this result, no question.
Congratulations. Now, gold medalist on the Olympic track in Torino, Martin Ennen. You like the track?
Ja, ich finde es sehr schön hier. Auch das Italien allgemein gefällt uns. Nach Cortina hatten wir ja schon ein bisschen Erfolg und wir freuen uns jetzt natürlich umso mehr auf die Olympischen Spiele.
We like Italy and we like the track here in Cesana, and we're looking forward to the Olympics.
Congratulations, great results. Coming up, 4-man bobsledding. More Swiss, more Americans, more Germans. Stay with us on Speed.
Go on.
Welcome back to Torino, Italy, and Speed Channel's coverage of World Cup 4-man bobsledding. It's the 5th World Cup of the year. We've seen the 2-man sleds. Now we go on to the big sleds.
Now it's time for the Formula One of winter sport, or NASCAR of winter sports.
Little idea of the track here in Cesana Patrol. Here's our World Cup standings. Alexander Zubkov of Russia. Todd Hayes, second place for the United States. First 8 highlights. Watch this. Todd Hayes will not compete in the second run. Scary situation. He got to the bottom of the track and he was bleeding profusely from his ankle. They had to take him away quickly to the hospital. We don't have any reports on the status of his injuries. Team Rennie Spies, though, currently in 5th place. Spies with the bronze medal in the 2-man competition. Very impressive. He's coming on.
2 new pushmen in his team.
Oh, a little slide there.
Yeah, that was not the ride of his life, but Team Alexander Zubkov tied for 2nd place. The World Cup leader.
Won in Innsbruck, 2nd place 3 different times. That's why he's the World Cup leader, and he puts himself in position for another podium here.
And he's tied with Pierre Luders of Canada. So, is this gonna be the new 4-man expert?
Luders with the silver medal in 2-man competition on this track. He likes 2-man better, but he's been getting some very impressive results in 4-man.
And leading Team Martinanen from Switzerland. New push record, 4:68, and a new track record. He's leading by 1700ths ahead of the Russians and Pierre Luders.
Start record at the top, track record at the bottom. Annen's been doing it. Again, Annen won the 2-man gold. Here he is at the top of the leaderboard, 1700s, 1800s. Matthias Hoffner's not far back. Todd Hayes, the United States, 5100s back. He will not compete in the second run. 29 sleds from 17 different nations. First ever 4-man bobsled race. 4-man's a little bigger.
630 kilograms, including crew. So
maximum weight.
When they go on scale, they have to put everything in the sled, what they brought down. All the helmets, all the gloves. shoes, everything.
First competitor, Mike Kahn of the United States. We talked to him about Todd Hayes' injury.
Well, right now, I don't know how much damage is done, but I heard that Todd was going to be going to the hospital, and Todd, we're thinking about you. Our thoughts are with you. We hope you're okay. Hope not too much damage is done, and hope to see you next week.
Mike Kahn, this is a good result for him in the Bodine sled. 16th place here to the first run. Didn't qualify for the top 20 in the two-man. And Kahn was on Brian Scheimer's bronze medal sled at the 2002 Winter Games in Salt Lake City. Made the jump up to the front seat.
And now he's challenging France 1. Bruno Méjean, former European champion, former world champion, bronze medalist of the Olympics in Nagano, and he hit the wood.
Hit the lip, and then he came across and banged the wall on the right side.
But did it cost him time? That's the question.
The four-man sleds go a little straighter than the two-mans. He's got 1,500ths lead. Good speed, 108.4, 0.6 of that's miles per hour. So 64 miles an hour, 128. They were going 131 in the first heat. Oh, and he's high there.
He likes it.
Really letting the sled run, and he still wins by 1/10 of a second. Brian Scheimer on the left, Tuffy Latour on the right. The coaches, they like it. That's a good result. He maintains his position. He could move up a couple more.
But I think he has to put some paint on his bumpers now.
He definitely touched things up.
Ralf Rueck and his team.
3 different Rugs out in the World Cup circuit. I've told this story before. I used to compete against his father back in the late 70s. His father had a little bit more success than I did with the Swiss program, because the Americans, we weren't winning medals then, but we didn't have the Bodine sleds then either.
Franco Rosinos, Bruno Ebert, Elmar Schaufelberger. Well, quite a decent start, 485.
Looks like a little mist or snow coming back in. It was snowing pretty hard in the first heat.
Yeah, now it's coming back. But they have lots of helpers, lots of volunteers here.
You know, again, we've been talking about it. Brand new track. It's really looking still like a construction site. There's mud and dirt all over the place, and the ice conditions have not been that good for the athletes. They've really had to go out and sand their runners, really polish their runners, because the runners have been getting quite a bit chewed up. But this is the year before the Olympics. This is why they call it a test event.
People here got support from Altenburg, from Königssee, from La Plante. So they brought their experts here to educate the people here from this new track.
Look at that, Mike Kahn with the best speed. This is a more experienced pilot here, Ralf Rueck. Ralph won a World Cup at St. Moritz a couple years ago, so he knows how to get on the podium. 129.8, that's closer to that 130 mark, and he's 1,800ths lead in the bottom. This will be the leader. Ralf Rueck ducks his head at the finish line for aerodynamics. He's the leader. Really flew in the bottom part of the track.
He doesn't have the big start, but he can drive.
Swiss bells, a lot more bobsledding on speed. Welcome back to Speed Channel. Next up, USA 2, Stevie Holcomb. We talked to him about the impact of Todd Hayes' injury also.
It's not motivating to see a guy go down like that. I mean, especially when Todd's in the running for the World Cup title. I mean, and not only is that, but we're relying on him to to win the World Cup title, to bring 3 sleds to World Championships. And if he's out, then that's going to be a hindrance on the team, and it's going to hurt down the road. But I think morale's still high. We still have a job to do.
Oh, really, he's USA #1 now. Not bad after the first heat. He said he likes the track. Oh, little problem. #2 getting in. 487 start. 470s are probably the best starts.
Aaron Maguire, Curtis Tomasiewicz, Brock Kreitzberg. That's his team.
500s down. He's going to need to improve that. 89.4. That's up above the Toro corner, the Bull corner. Looks like he got through there. He only lost 3 more hundreds. 89.4. Best speed is the Austrian sled Stampfler. This looks pretty smooth in the transitions. Now it's down to 3. That's a good sign.
He is coming back. The Russians are still in lead. We didn't see them pop off.
The Bodine sleds, he's got 130 kilometers. First person with 130 on the bottom. We've seen he's down to -6. He's flying. Steve Holcomb of Park City, and he's our new leader. Brian Scheimer loves it. Tuffy Latour on the right. The Bodine sled, that flew on the bottom part of that track.
From +7 to -11. So that was very good down there. I think this sled likes the speed.
Well, they all talked about the Bodine sleds are looking real good on this track. Now,
René Spies, Franz Sagmeister. We know these 2 guys. They competed in the 2-man, but then Ronnie Listner and Alexander Metzger. Metzger is from Christoph Langen's team. They all get 1 World Cup. That's what the German head coach Raimund Bethke said. So he gets his World Cup here.
well, you notice Spies' team went very quickly, and that's a smart thing to do because it is starting to snow a little bit. And when you're dealing with hundreds of seconds, snow accumulation on the track isn't good for your time.
And if there's some snow in the spur, you have to push it a little further down.
Wow, he's got a half-second lead on Holcomb. That's going to be pretty...
Good speed, hey?
Yeah, he's going to have to make a big mistake here not to be the leader on the bottom.
Looks much better than his first leg.
Wow, he's flying. Look at it up to 63. He has over 130 kilometers.
He was on the 5th position, but I think he can go for a medal with this run. This looks very good for René Spies. Already on the podium yesterday.
This will put him in a chance to win a podium. And he comes across. Wow, that's a great heat. That was the Swiss sled. We didn't see them come down, but René Spies has just put himself in great position. He's first. A couple more sleds to come. Stay with us. Welcome back to Torino, Italy. Ivo Ferriani, coach of the French bobsled team, 94 to 98. They won the Olympic bronze medal at the 98 Nagano Games. They followed up with the World Championships in 99 in Cortina, France's first World Championship ever in the sport. He moved to the Canadian program for 98 to 2002. Coach Pierre Luners. Now he's the competition sport manager for the 2006 Games on this track. Speaking of Pierre Luners, we got him warming up before the second run. We talked to him about his first run.
It was a pretty good first run. I think I had a little bit of a problem at the start. I'm not really sure. We're going to have to find out with the guys. Really didn't come off the line like we would have hoped, but the run itself, there were some good parts and some bad parts. I think just the transition from 2-man to 4-man sort of got me a little bit off guard there, but I think we'll be ready for the next run.
Don't forget they are tied with Zubkov with the Russians on second position after the first heat. Both 1700s behind Martin Annen from
Said he had problems at the start. 475 start. That's impressive. Bluders is, again, a two-man specialist, world champion, but he's really starting to get focused on this big sled.
Other teams wish to have these problems at the start with the fourth best start time. Hey, come on.
Look at the speed, 90 plus kilometers, 55 miles an hour, 2100s lead. This is for a medal. If he finishes on the top of the leaderboard here, guarantees himself a bronze medal. And he came back from third to second last night in the second run to win the two-man silver medal, and this looks pretty impressive.
Very, very good what he's doing here.
130.3.
That doesn't look like transition problems at all.
No, this sled is flying. Luders, another podium finish. He won a bronze medal in the last World Cup four-man race in Calgary, his first of the year. Now 2 consecutive four-man races he medals. Remember, the World Championships are in Calgary, his home track.
Maybe he's going for a double gold there.
He's got at least a bronze medal here on the Olympic track. He's got 2 medals on the Olympic track here. That bodes well for next year. Look at the transition here. Pierre Luders.
2 more sleds to come. John, Alexander Zubkov, and Martin Annen going for medals.
Luders has set the pace.
On the edge.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Racing on the edge in Torino, Italy. Down to our final 2 competitors. It's the leader of the World Cup Series, Alexander Zubkov.
Sergei Golubyov, Alexei Siliverstov, and Dmitry Stepushkin. Well, bad news for the Americans with Todd Hayes. Good news for the Russians, because Todd Hayes was challenging him.
For the World Cup lead, it was very close. Hayes with 2 golds, a second and a fourth of the first 4 races. He's get no points from this race. Zubkov with 3 seconds and a gold. Very impressive the first part of the year. 475 starts, similar to Luders. And we'll compare the 2 starts. Who gets in first? Zubkov's in quicker. Now, the Singer sled. +9. That tells you there was a mistake made, Ron. Up there must be in 6, 7, and 8.
Oh, that was much too high.
They were equal at the end of the first heat. They were equal in the start time. Now it's up to almost 2/10. Look at the difference in speed. Almost a kilometer.
No, he can't make it. Can't make it.
You don't have speed up there after curve 6. You've got no chance. It's 3/10 now. He might even fall out of the medals.
Yeah, definitely. This is good for Rennie Spies.
Rennie Spies is on the bubble right now for the medal. +35. Got to be perfect down here. Doesn't have the big speed number. I think the Canadians are moving up, and I think Spies has got one. He does. 4th best time in the heat. He falls 2 spots.
And
this is his worst performance of the year. Look at him shake his head. Not happy.
Team captain and president of the Russian Federation, Valery Lyshenko, was sort of nervous because some very important persons are here from the Russian Olympic Committee. And this will be the World Cup where he doesn't get a medal. Oh, bad luck for these guys.
Still think he's going to maintain his World Cup spot because Todd Hayes, of course, didn't get any points at all. And now, the guy who won the gold medal in the 2-man, the guy who won the last 4-man race in Cortina, the guy who's been setting the track record in the first 50 meters, team, Martin Annan.
Martin Annan, Andy Gaze, Beat Hefty, Cedric Grand. When they set the start record with 4:68, I was up at the top. I saw famous bobsledders. They didn't close their mouths. They were standing there, said they didn't expect a 4:68.
You look at these four guys, they are not imposing figures like you look at the Americans or the Canadians. This is just cohesion. This is about a team. This is a team sport. And these guys just did it again, Ron. Wow.
Two very good sprinters, Beat Hefty, best Swiss pushman, and Cedric Grand, pushing each other to good success.
Quarter of a second lead, but he is 1700ths. Of course, that's all relative to that start time. But he doesn't have 90 kilometers there before the bull, up to 21. But he does not have, he's a half kilometer down to Lueders. I still think he's got it. He's got to make a serious mistake not to have the gold medal here.
Should be enough. 210.
Down to 20. He didn't lose that much. 109.5. Lueders had 110. Lueders also had 130 plus. And so does Annan. It's down to 19. He's got it under control. Martin Annan, double gold medal looks like here on the pre-Olympic test event in Torino, Italy. He lost a little time back. Lueders, silver medal for Pierre Lueders, his best performance in four-man bobsledding in a long time.
And he had the fastest heat in the second leg.
With an 800 start efficiency. Wow. Martin Annan, the Swiss Bells. Here's our results. Annan, Lueders, Spies, Hafner, Zubkov fell all the way to 5th.
Look, Hafner, Spies, just 100 by a second.
Stevie Holcomb, United States, 7th. Good result for him. A lot of pressure on him now with Hayes. Hopefully Todd Hayes will be back. Interviews after this.
On the edge.
Welcome back to Turin. This program is brought to you by Omega, official timekeeper of the World Bobsleigh Tour, and by Konica Minolta, official sponsor of the World Championships in Calgary, Alberta, Canada this February, and home of the Biz Hub. World Cup standing, 435 for Alexander Zubkov. Annan, 385. Todd Hayes didn't complete the competition due to an injury. Steve Holcomb, 9th place, 290 points. Not bad for this young kid. Bruno Méjean, former world champion, on 11th place. Martin Annan winning the four-man, winning the two-man here on this track in Turin. And next week, it's his home track in St. Moritz. Most beautiful place for bobsledding, top of the world, the only naturalized track. And the Swiss are always good there on this track. We are waiting for John Morgan and the interviews. He's talking to the medal winners, and I'm pretty sure he's talking about the Jinx.
Rennie Spies, good weekend for you. Must be happy with your performance.
Yeah, it was an excellent weekend for us. We had a good first yesterday and a good second today, and 2 times on the podium. Unbelievable. Was a great weekend.
Congratulations. See you next week in St. Moritz. Now down to Pierre Lueders. Great weekend for you, Pierre Lueders. 2 silver medals. You're starting to like four-man, much like the two-man, huh?
Well, it's not so much about liking. I've always liked the four-man, but you know, a lot of times we had problems either with some start issues or sled issues, and slowly but surely we're starting to get it together. These guys here, Morgan Alexander, Lascelles Brown, Ken Kotick did a fantastic job today. They really sucked it up for me on the second one. That's all I asked for, and they did it, and it was great.
Congratulations, Pierre. Great weekend. Now, Martin Annan, 2 gold medals on the Olympic track. Also, the pre-Olympic test is a jinx. If you win the pre-Olympic test, you can't win the gold. Can you break the jinx next year?
Ja, ich bin eigentlich nicht abergläubisch. Wir haben jetzt Erfolg, freuen uns riesig und ich bin sicher, wir haben für nächstes Jahr ein tolles Gefühl. Wir kommen wieder gerne nach Turin und ich glaube, die Mannschaft ist top motiviert, jetzt auch den ganzen Sommer zu trainieren.
We don't believe to Czechs, so we have a chance to win next year, and we are motivated to do that.
Congratulations, Switzerland, everybody. See you next week in St. Moritz.
So if you like the music, you can download it on finetunes.net. And, well, John, that was a very nice race here. Formula One or NASCAR of winter sports.
Hey, 2 weeks ago there was no ice on the track. Now we've just seen 5 competitions, very successful. The Italians should be proud because if you looked at the place, it's certainly a construction site. But it was good racing on the edge. It was some great bobsled racing. Our thoughts go out to Todd Hayes. We hope he's not injured. But next week we go on to St. Moritz, where they originated the sport of bobsledding. Hope you could join us for that.